You would be amazed at what is in your house. Even if you don't have $2,000 worth of stuff, even if you live in a small apartment, you've got to have stuff in your house, in your car. I mean, I sold like old garage door openers I found in my garage for $15 a piece.
Wow.
These things are like 20 years old, dude. I'm like, who the heck is
going to use that much for it back then?
Obviously, somebody wanted them. I sold
What's going on, everybody, on YouTube and on iTunes? Welcome to episode number 30 with Paul Apollonia. We're going to be talking about selling on eBay. We're going to be talking about parting things out on eBay, which is really exciting. But yeah, we got Paul on the show today. You may or may not recognize Paul. If you guys have been following the Raiken Profit YouTube channel for at least a couple years, I went on a previous thrift trip where I documented every single day, going pretty much from Connecticut through Jersey, New York, all the way down through the Carolinas to Florida. And one of my stops ran into Mr. Paul Apollonia himself. We were rocking out in his van, hitting thrift stores. So it's good to see you again, man. Happy New Year, everybody watching. Paul, what is going on?
Hey, thanks, Steve. Thanks so much. Boy, that trip was a whole lot of fun. I'll never forget that. I think it was day 8 or 9 of that trip. I can't remember the exact date. Well, you did a lot of videoing of me and just talking about me, and it was a lot of fun. We went to 2 or 3 thrift stores. Unfortunately, they're really bad around here, thrift stores, but you did that, and you did some other things. It was went to that pawn shop. I remember you bought a couple calculators and everything. But it's great. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. It was a lot of fun. I was glad I was able to free up some time and take you around.
Yeah, man, it was really a pleasure. It was one of my first trips, so I was kind of like nervous, like traveling. This was quite a while ago, so you definitely made me feel at home in North Carolina. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, we were talking before the show, the importance of networking with people. Whether you're a YouTuber or not, it's great to connect with people because, Paul and I, we've stayed in touch periodically throughout the years. And it's just great to be able to connect with people, meet with them in real life. I learned a lot from you. And now we're connecting again and sharing more of the wealth. So go out there and network, everybody. Before we get started with the show, I want to give you guys a couple updates. Number one, if you want to be on the notification list for these videos, be sure to go hit the bell icon up at the top because the YouTube algorithm lately has been really weird and it's not showing videos unless you hit that bell icon. And I've also created another update as well. If you go into the description at raikenprofit.com/live, it's actually an update that I'll send through Facebook Messenger if you hit that. So I'll update you with notifications and stuff like that. But with that out of the way, Paul, let's talk about your story and how you got started. So let's take it back to the beginning. What's your story when it comes to selling on eBay?
Well, I'll try to keep it short, but I came from the corporate world. I left the corporate world back in 2004. I did IT work, programmer, analyst, worked my way all the way up, made really good money. Left that 2004, started another business. Actually, has nothing to do with online selling, a on-site auto detailing business, which I thought that was my passion. Did that till about 2010, 2008 knocked me out of the water. And I got involved in eBay at about 2007. A friend of mine was telling me, you should sell on eBay. I was like, oh, eBay, what's that? I don't want to do that. And I was working at a big box store at night to make some extra money. That's how tough things were. And about 6 months later, I was making more just selling stuff I found around my house on eBay than I was working at big box store. And it was nice to be home. My kids were young. And then I started consigning for people, which I like consignment. It's really, really hard to find good people to consign for. You just really you got to weed out a lot of people, but it works out really well for me. And I also put the word out through networking. Like Steve said, I'm a huge fan of networking. I've always believed in networking. No matter what you're doing, get out there, network, go to meetings, hang out at coffee shops, let people know what you're doing. And the amount of stuff that people just give me to sell. I mean, people have given me I forget the name of the printer, some big Canon printer, was brand new. The guy just gave it to me in a box. I sold it for $400 in 2 days.
Wow.
Some guy gave me a professional grade CD player. that you use in the studio back in the day. I sold that for $1,600. Just there's people just give you stuff. I mean, just get the word out of what you're doing. Now your house will be full of junk, but you'll get a lot of stuff. Don't tell my wife. My wife's actually out right now, but I just love this lifestyle of being able to almost have my own hours, total flexibility. I can work anywhere I want. And I just like eBay. eBay's been really, really good to me.
Cool, man. So you started in 2007, you mentioned you were working at a big box store. You started making more money selling on eBay than your actual normal job. You mentioned you were selling stuff around the house. Let's talk about that, because there's a lot of people who may be watching, first-time viewer, they want to start making money online. They want to get started with eBay, and they're not sure where to start. So would you recommend starting with, finding stuff around your house and then saving up enough money to start, then hitting the thrift stores and garage sales? Is that the way you went?
That's the way I went, and that's what I recommend. I do a lot of teaching with eBay, and that's what I tell my students. The average person has about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of stuff in their home, around their home. It's amazing. Yeah. Yep. If you look around, I have a lot more than that because I got all this junk around. But normally, you have a lot of stuff around your house, in your attic, in your closet, in your basement, in your storage unit that you can sell.
What are some good items to sell at first that you would imagine most people probably have laying around the house that they don't really need?
Well, I have had incredible luck with selling. I wouldn't recommend doing this as a new seller because you got to be really upfront. Selling broken old stereo amplifiers, you just got to make sure you sell them as parts or repair or whatever they call it now, and you make sure you state that in the title that it's parts or not working. I have sold some of those things for hundreds of dollars broken. The old Marantz receivers, the old Sansui receivers, stuff like that. And many were given to me too. Again, somebody gave me one the other day.
Yeah, there's so many items around the house, from, stereo equipment to clothing, shoes, in today's day of age, electronics, cell phones, things are getting outdated so fast. People are getting new iPhones like every 6 months to a year. And these old iPhones, if you don't trade them in, they can still hold a lot of value. So, when someone's looking around the house, how do they determine what these items are worth?
Well, what I tell them is obviously just go on eBay and look at the sold listings. Don't look at what they're selling for. Everybody goes on there and goes, oh, I can get $300 for this phone. And I'm like, are you looking at sold? What's that? I'm like, you have to look.
Big difference. Big
it has to be, right. The number has to be green. That means it's sold. You know what I mean? And, oh, okay. And then they look at, oh, okay, that's cool. And I'm also a believer, and I know some people don't like this, but if I can make a quick $10 on an item, I'll throw it on eBay. I know some people don't believe in that and whatever, but it takes me minutes to list something now. It took me hours when I first started, but now it takes me minutes. And I'll list anything, to make a buck here and there. If I can get it in and out real quick, then I'll do it.
Do you list on your phone, or do you list via, you snap your pictures on the camera, upload the memory card, go through your desktop, laptop?
Now, I use my phone, but I use my phone for pictures, and then I list on my laptop. I've tried the app on the phone. I think I'm just too old. I need a bigger screen to do it right. And I have an Android phone. I know the app works much better with the Apple operating system.
Huge difference. I used to own an Android, and actually, matter of fact, my friend recently, he came over and we were having like a little listing party, which is really fun. If you have any friends and you guys or gals are both listing, come together and start listing together. It's a lot of fun, but he was getting smoked out of the water because his Android was so slow.
Oh, darn. So, and you can also do more things with the app on the Apple operating system, from what I heard. So I guess I should look into maybe getting a used iPad or something like that to really do the mobile.
So what do? You take your pictures on the phone, and then I'm assuming you save it as a draft, and then you go to your desktop, and then you finish the... Yes.
Yep, that's exactly what I do. Yep.
So, you've been listing and selling on eBay since 2007. You mentioned starting by selling stuff around your house, consignment, which I want to talk about in a second. But one question I want to ask you before we dive into consignment is, what are some of the big changes you've noticed over the years from 2007 to 2018? Because I see a lot of people, on Facebook groups, even in the YouTube comments, and they complain about eBay always changing. this isn't something new. eBay's always changing. Is there anything that stands out in terms of, 2007 eBay versus 2018 in terms of differences?
Well, the big thing I got to tell people, and it's hard not to do, is your best, if something's going wrong, don't get on Facebook and start complaining, because it sets you in a mindset that
We've all been there. We've all been there.
that will spiral you all the way down the whole day, and you won't list a darn thing, and you'll be angry over a $3 item that somebody wants a return on, and you're all angry, and people are coming back. I love Facebook. I think all the groups are really, really helpful, but sometimes when you have a problem and you get on there, it just makes you more negative than you already may have been.
Some of the differences that you noticed. I know I'm smacking you over the head with like a million questions.
No.
But what are some of the things that you've noticed are different on eBay? Anything really stand out?
Sure. It's a lot more. You really need to put your listings out on social media anymore to really get the exposure. I think years ago, obviously, social media wasn't there years ago, but I think now you really need to tweet your listings. You need to put them out on your Facebook business page. You need to get a Pinterest business account and get your listings out there.
Right.
There's a lot more outside of eBay. As far as listing on eBay, I think it's gotten easier. Maybe it's because I'm more experienced, but I think it's gotten easier for people to get
Definitely
to get on eBay. Well, once you get past that probationary period, which it's just the way it is. I mean,
I know that probationary period, Paul, is rough for new sellers. Let's talk about that, because I know that's one thing that upsets, I think maybe that's a good word, upsets a lot of beginner sellers, is they start selling and they list 1 item, 2 items, 3 items, and all of a sudden they get hit with that red notification. I forget what it says. It's been a long time since I've done it, but it comes up and essentially says you've hit your selling limit. You can't list anymore until you do something. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is. It's really hard to explain it when I'm teaching people about eBay and how to sell. Like a lot of new sellers come to my classes, and even with all my experience, it's hard to explain because it's so foreign to me. I think it's up to 10 listings you can have.
Something like that. There's an amount of listings, and then there's like a number of like.
Right, an amount.
You could sell like $100 worth or something.
Right. Now I've had students that followed all the rules and shipped them out properly and did everything, and within 2 months they just kept on calling eBay and they bumped them up to get out of the probationary period. So if you do everything right, I think it's a real quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's kind of like it sucks. It honestly does. But here's the thing: right now, if you are listening and you're thinking to yourself, I think I want to get started with eBay. Maybe you're selling on Amazon or Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, or maybe you're just working a full-time job and you're like, I want to start supplementing my income with eBay. I think it's easy. I've got a couple $1,000s worth of stuff laying around the house. If you're thinking about maybe starting in a month, just start now, for the main reason of getting that selling limit lifted up. So if you list 1 or 2 items and you sell something, I don't even know if you have to sell anything. It just seems like that 30 to 60 day window. I'm not sure. I'm sure you have to sell something and then they'll lift it in a certain amount of time.
Right.
But just get started now, because once you're really like pumped up to do it, it's gonna stink if you can't.
Exactly. And from what I heard, I don't quote me on this, but I think if you stop, like if you're still in a probationary period and you stop selling and you let your account with no sales for a while, you're going to be back again at square one. That's what I heard. I should have really looked that up, but that's what I heard.
Makes sense, though. I mean, because, and you might think to yourself, well, eBay, why are you doing this? You're shooting yourself in the foot. You're getting money every time I sell something. But one thing you have to understand is platforms like eBay and Amazon, they're built upon their reputation, right? When somebody has a bad experience on eBay, even though maybe Steve or Paul might have screwed up the sale, shipped the wrong thing, or did something wrong because maybe we're a beginner and we just got started, it looks bad on eBay. Someone doesn't say, oh, screw Steve Raiken, he didn't ship my item. They say screw eBay, and that's bad for eBay. So eBay wants to build an environment where customers feel safe, right?
Right, exactly.
So it stinks, but it's part of the game. Paul, let's transition over to consignment. I've got so many questions to ask you, but consignment has been something that over the last 5 years, I've done a little bit of it. There's a couple of things that kind of scare me about it, especially with some of the changes with eBay's and PayPal's return policy and whatnot. But let's talk a little bit about consignment. First and foremost, what is consignment for anyone out there who is listening?
It is basically, in my world, it is, let's say Joe, my neighbor, has items and he really doesn't know anything about eBay or online selling, and he wants to get rid of these items. But he wants to get something for them, and he can have a garage sale and make pennies, or he can let me sell his items and he can make a 50-50 split. So he makes more money letting me sell his items, and they're sold at a much higher rate than at a garage sale.
So you mentioned 50-50 split. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, okay, my brother, my sister, my friend, my principal, who knows? They want stuff sold. How much do I give them? Is 50-50 normal? I know when I go to consignment shops locally, because I actually source quite a bit from consignment shops, a couple times a month, because I actually find a lot of good deals in consignment shops for Amazon specifically. I believe they're like 60-40, where they give me like 40% if I was to consign something. What do you do? 50-50 you mentioned? Is that common, or does it depend upon the item?
Well, I used to do 30%, but then I really wasn't making hardly any money after, because I've calculated out and figured it takes me about 4 hours each item. If you think about it, I go get the item, I bring it home, I have to clean it or whatever, take photos, list it, pack it, answer tons of questions from people possibly. So you're talking about a 4-hour span with each item, roughly. So I'm thinking 50-50 is a real good deal, because you're getting worldwide coverage instead of it sitting in a consignment shop where, unless they have an eBay store or something, it's just sitting at a consignment shop.
So let's say I'm looking for something. I don't know.
I'm sure you can find something there.
Laptop case, right? Let's pretend that this is made out of like carbon fibers, even though it's not. Maybe it's worth $200, right? Obviously, this is probably only worth like $10, but
Right.
Still, for the example's sake, say it's worth $200, and I come up to you, Paul, and I'm like, hey, I'd like you to consign this for me. Is that the right terminology? Consign this for me?
Yeah. So, yep.
So we agree upon a 50-50 split. Let's say it sells for $200. Do I get $100, or is that not how it works?
Well, I go 50-50 to about 100, 150. All depends how many items you have to sell to give me. I would do probably 30%, 35% on that, because it would probably be a quick sale, I would think.
Now, am I going to get 35% off the top, or is that minus fees and shipping?
That's minus fees and shipping. I don't do free shipping with consignment stuff. Everything.
So you have to be clear with that, right?
Yeah.
When you're putting a deal with somebody,
Exactly.
they might think, okay, it sold for 100, 50-50, I get $50,
Right.
but it's $50 then minus the split.
Exactly. I had a small little contract I emailed to the person. Many people just say,
Oh, really?
Just sell my stuff. I don't care what you give me back. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh, let me think about that. No, I'm serious. I mean, some people just say, and this is where, like I was saying to you before, then they say, you know what? I've been thinking about it. Let me I'll just give you my stuff. Don't even worry about, giving me any money back. Just take it. Just get it out of here, which is really sweet.
Ooh, double ooh.
Oh, yeah. Ooh.
That's cool. So let's get into some of the things that scare me about consigning for people. Number one, refunds. What do you have in your contract? Again, Paul's not a lawyer. He's not an accountant. You guys, please go out, do your own research, due diligence. I'm gonna put that in there, protect you, because who knows? 3 weeks later, you're gonna have death threats coming to you.
That's right. That's right.
No, but on a serious note, how do you handle refunds? Do you put something in a contract for that? Because I know the refund period, it's a little weird with eBay. Could you share with people what the refund period is?
Gosh, it's all over the place anymore. It used to be, well, the return, yeah, I know. The return thing used to be 14 days, and they went up to 30 days. Now what's it up to? You can do up to 60 days.
Yeah.
I do a 30-day return, and I have been truly blessed with not having a whole lot of returns on my consignment stuff. So usually after 30 days, I usually issue a check to the people. But then you got PayPal, where you can go, then they can issue a PayPal refund, and that's, how long is that out? That's
days? What always worried me about consigning is, I think they could actually open one up like 9 months down the road. It doesn't mean they're going to get it.
Right.
So I would like, for the people watching live right now, help us out, because it's so confusing at times. there's an eBay return policy and then there's a PayPal, right? But I know that they could still even open up a case because PayPal, there's something called cases. You could open up cases for problems and issues. If you have a good enough reason, or even you get the wrong representative or they get the right representative, they might even still refund it. I know these are very odd things that could happen.
Right.
That's personally one of the things that scared me, but you're saying that you've been blessed to not have a lot of refunds. You haven't had to deal with this before, a refund through an assign?
Once or twice I have, but it was pretty smooth. Usually it was a real quick, they got the item and they didn't like it, or it got damaged, or something was wrong, whatever. And it was a quick refund, but I've never had anything longer than 30 days.
Okay. Another thing that concerned me as well, and again, he's not a CPA, he's not an accountant, but I'm curious, what do you do in terms of taxes as well? Because, say you sell an item for $200 and it sells, that's going to be recorded, in terms of your income at the end of the year. Are you 1099ing these people? How are you getting that off your books if you're only taking $30 profit?
I'm 1099ing some of them, and others they're just giving me stuff.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
So definitely want to be smart if you're consigning. You don't want to be paying people out and then paying taxes on all the income.
Right. You shouldn't be. And I have an accountant. I've had an accountant since I was 20 years old. I don't even know how to do taxes. So he handles all that for me, to be honest with you. I don't mess with that. To me, it's worth paying him a couple $100, even if I don't have the couple $100, it's worth it because I don't have.
Exactly.
There's no way. I'm not going to do that.
Man, I've gone so far to over the last year, all of 2017, I had a full-time bookkeeping service with everything, and it wasn't cheap. It was not cheap at all, but I'm running a whole bunch of different businesses, so I've got incomes coming in from all over the place. It was not cheap, but it was so worth it at the end of the year to just have everything all nice and tidy and having the CPA. It's so worth it in an eBay business or any business in general. You don't want to get into that trap of like not knowing your income, not knowing your expenses, not writing off your travel, not writing off your education, and then trying to write it off, but then you're writing off the wrong percentages. Like, hire a professional.
Right. Hire a professional and get one of those online services too. There's several of them out there. I use one of them and I love it. It just, everything gets recorded in there and I can go and look and see.
Right. Yeah. There's GoDaddy Bookkeeping.
Right. And then there's QuickBooks. And there's QuickBooks online. Those are the two I know. I'm sorry.
But I started with GoDaddy. I started with GoDaddy Bookkeeping because it links right up. It actually integrates directly with your eBay, and you could actually link up credit cards as well. So anytime, like for example, one quick tip, if you're getting started and you're building your eBay business, say for example, you have 3 credit cards, use only one credit card for your purchases for your business. And then anything else personal, use a different credit card, set it up the right way. So then everything that you're buying, which is going to be a cost of goods sold at the end of the year. So, suppose that sells, keep things organized, have a checking account just for business. It doesn't have to be a business checking, but a checking just for business, credit cards just for business, save all your receipts. Like you've got to organize all these things in the beginning. It sucks, but it's smooth once you get the system down.
Right. Well, it's a business. And, you got to treat it like a business, whether you're full-time or whether you're just part-time thrifting on Saturday and making, $75 a week. It's a business. I'm not a fan of when people say, well, it's a hobby. Well, it's not a hobby. You have to say it's a business. That's a whole mindset. When you start saying it's a hobby, then it's a hobby. Then go build models or something. I mean, I'm just saying, treat it like a business and it will grow. I mean, you may not want to make it full time, and that's fine too. But I mean, it's not going to grow if you're telling yourself it's a hobby.
And that's the beautiful thing about, I completely agree. That's the beautiful thing about an eBay business is you could put in as little or as much time as you like. You could grow it as much as you like to an extent, depending on your business model and everything. But that's the cool thing about eBay. It's great for stay-at-home moms, stay-at-home dads, people who work full-time jobs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do a lot of training. I do a lot of classroom training and then one-on-one training. And my favorite customers are the stay-at-home moms that I must have trained probably 50 of them over the years. And I just love it. They'll call me up like 3 weeks later. Now, granted, this is not a lot of money to me, but you got to realize a lot of women, when they stay at home, they feel like they're not contributing to the house. to the household income anymore. And they'll call me and they'll be thrilled that they just sold 3 of the infants' clothing for, $15, with free shipping. So they're not making much money, but still they're thrilled that they're actually making money and they're doing it on their own. And it's so rewarding to see somebody like that, to be honest with you.
It's exciting. I still remember my first couple sales, and it was a great feeling. Now you're out of Raleigh, North Carolina, beautiful area. If you haven't already, check out our vlog, the Raleigh, North Carolina vlog on my road trip. It was fun. We got together, thrifted. But you have a Raleigh eBay group. Now, is this a free group that you run?
Well, it's free to join. It is $5 to attend the meetings, because I put a lot of time and effort into it. And
Sure.
The meetup fees they just go up and up and up. And I need something to get back from it. But I've been doing
it's practically nothing. For $5, if you can't pay $5 to learn something, then
right.
YouTube, there's a lot of
right,
free stuff.
exactly. Anyway. Yep. I've been doing this since 2012, the meetup, and it's moved around, but it's been at the one location now for a good bit. I like the location, but the Wi-Fi just stinks, and it's just the way it is. I tried other locations at the Panera near my house. There's a Panera Bread near my house. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Yeah.
I was at a Panera the other day and my internet was horrible. I'm like,
And the Starbucks are just too small around here to meet there. They have the best Wi-Fi around, but it is what it is. I had it at another location, a classroom setting, for about 3 months, and nobody was showing up, and I was paying $40 each meeting, and I was like, you know what? We're back at Panera.
So if somebody lives in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, how do they find your meetup group?
They just go to Meetup and type in Raleigh eBay. It's the only one out there. Actually, it's the only one in the state, except for one in Charlotte. But I've had people drive in from Charlotte at times that have had relatives here in the state overnight. So, wow, I was quite impressed with that people were driving that far.
That is cool. There's a lot of people out there who want to learn. So if you guys are in the area, check it out. I'll also get the link. I'll link it up down below as well. But let's transition over parting things out on eBay. There's a lot of people who want to learn how to part things out and sell it on eBay. I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering, can I take electronics or various items that are maybe broken or have lots of components like lawnmowers or, I don't know, little mini aircrafts, whatever, and part these things out and sell it on eBay? Before the show, you mentioned, Paul, that you love parting things out on eBay. Can you share with people this business model on eBay of parting things out, how it works, and if it's something that people should look into?
Sure. Well, you have to be mechanically inclined to be able to take things apart. It doesn't really take that many tools. I've been doing it for years. I had a small engine repair part-time business for a while. I shut that down back in September. And just getting lawnmowers over the years and outdoor equipment is very easy. I sort of know what sells and what doesn't sell at this point. When I first started doing this, I spent 3 hours taking everything apart to make $30. And I'm going, this isn't working really well. So I figured out what was selling and what wasn't. And now I can just look at something and just pull 2 or 3 parts off and take the rest to the dump. I do really well with any kind of small engine stuff, a microwave trays, anytime. My kids laugh every time we're driving around and I see a microwave on the side of the road. The first thing I do is pull the glass tray out and take a picture of the model number and throw it in the car, in the van.
Really? Wait, how much do those sell for? I never even knew that those had a value.
Not a whole lot, maybe $15. And then what you do is use a pool noodle. When you want to ship it, you take a pool noodle, you'll slit it around, and then you wrap the pool noodle around and tape that around and throw that in a box, and it'll go anywhere shipping wise. I've sold those for years and years. Sold refrigerator shelves out of all refrigerators I see. I take the model number and sell those. Just anything I can get my hands on that I can part out. I just parted out 3 Dyson vacuum cleaners somebody gave me that were broken, and I sold a bunch of parts off of those. Those are a bugger to part out because they're obviously well made, and it took me a while to get everything off of them. But so I got those listed too the other day.
How do you know what each part is? Say for example, you're taking apart a Dyson vacuum cleaner. I don't know anything about the mechanics of it or the components, but say I pull a piece out. Does every single piece have a model number on it, or do you kind of have to know what it is to be able to put in a specific keyword to find that similar item?
Well, sometimes I have a model number on it. Most of the time I have two windows, the eBay window up, and then I have obviously a Google search. Like I would type in, these were Dyson DC-14. So I typed that in and I found a parts list from the Dyson website. I looked up the part, then I scanned for the part on eBay, sold listings, and looked at that and went, oh, wow, that's worth, $15, $20. I'm a big supporter of selling things. It is really great to find those $300 items that you pay $1 for. But those, come on, dude. I mean, that's not reality. Reality to me, and what I tell people, is the $10, $15, $20 items that you're going to sell. It's just, people come to me all the time. Oh, I want to make millions of dollars on eBay. Well, join the, join the club. It's just, it's not going to work, So, but that's what I do.
The more you do it, I've found, I'm a big clothing seller, book seller on Amazon. The more you do it, the more you go out scavenging and looking and finding these items, you'll get lucky every now and then, right? It just happens. Going every single time and finding a $200, $300 item isn't going to happen for anybody. I don't care how knowledgeable you are. It's just not going to happen every single time. But the more you go out there, the more you're going to know. Question for you, Paul, say you find a vacuum cleaner or some type of electronic item. Maybe it's one of those little robot vacuum cleaner things. I just got one recently for Christmas. I love it. Anyone else out there who's lazy, you don't want to vacuum anymore, go get one. They're so great. How do you know when to sell something as a whole versus parting it out?
Well, that's a good question. And you really need to do research on eBay and see what the item is going for.
Right.
Like, for example, I'll be quite honest with you. I got these Dyson vacuum cleaners and I immediately sold the canisters off of them because they sell quick, like 20, 35, $40. Sold all 3 canisters. And as I was taking them apart, I noticed they were all clogged up. So in reality, I probably could have just unclogged them and sold them for probably about $100 a piece on Craigslist. But, oh well.
Live and you learn.
Yeah, I'll make it back. It kept me inside this week. It was freezing outside. So it was good. It was good. You just got to watch what you're doing. You just got to watch what you're doing with, you got to really take your time and just chill out and concentrate on what you're doing, and it works out.
Biggest mistakes that people make when they're parting items out to sell on eBay? Spending
way too much time taking things apart to make very little money. Like I said before, I've been caught in that trap before where, you don't realize how much time you're spending on it. I've actually set up my phone as a timer, like, to ding me every 15 minutes. Okay, now where am I at? Am I to the point where I can throw the rest of it out properly in the dump recycling? Or can I keep on going? Is this part still worth, me trying to dig to get to it? Or it's tough. It's something you learn with experience.
Let's transition a little bit. Do you mind sharing maybe one of your best success stories on eBay, or maybe somebody who you taught at one of your eBay classes? Maybe a story of an item that somebody sold or something that you sold that was just really, really incredible.
Well, there was one item that somebody gave me to consign, and I had it for a while, and he said, don't worry about it, just keep it. It turned out to be I forget the name of it. Yeah, it was a studio grade. It was a studio grade CD player. This is an older one. It was big. It was a big unit. I forget the name of it now, and I sold that within a day for $1,600.
What?
So that was insane, dude. That was insane. And it came with the original box and everything. All I had to do was, when I ship something in the original box, I always wrap it with cardboard because people are real particular with their boxes. So I always make sure that I wrap it with cardboard so the original box doesn't get stickers on it. And man, it was sweet because it was the original box. And I think it was even broken too. I think the door wasn't working right or something. It wasn't coming out properly.
Was it an auction or a buy it now?
It was a buy it now. No, it was a buy it now. I rarely do auctions, to be honest with you, Steve. It's just, 80% of the sales are done with buy it nows. I know some people do auctions to get people to. Thank you. It's 2000.
People want it now.
I know. It's 2018. But people like auctions too. But no, I do 90% of my stuff is buy it now. That was one of my best.
I would bet I have no stats to back this, but I would just bet based on my intuition. Well, I do have a little bit of experience with auctions. I would bet in 2017, 2018, if you're running like 7-day auctions, someone might place a bid on day 1 and then win it day 7 and just never pay because they might just forget and move on. I don't know. Do you have any experience with that or any facts to back that up? It's just a gut feeling.
Well, I've had my problems with auctions back in the day for that same, it's almost like when you do a buy it now with a best offer. It's the same thing where once it enters that best offer and you accept it, and same thing with the auction, you're in the same boat. Okay, so they don't pay, so you got to wait. Then you got to put your UPI, unpaid item thing against the person.
Yeah,
I know. It's just that's why I like doing buy it now, pay immediately. Sorry, people that are trying to buy stuff, but I just can't deal with it anymore. It's just not worth my time.
Why? You don't have a lot of fun chasing people down to pay you for your $12 Dyson part?
Sure, I do. Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
And then you get the story. You ever get the stories of why they can't pay?
Oh my God, dude, it is 2018. Go to the library, sign onto a computer. You got a phone, borrow somebody's phone. I'm sorry, man. I mean, don't get me started with this. You know what I mean?
I've gotten so many messages, I swear, over the last 5 years, at least 3 or 4 messages. I know it's not a ton. And this is what they say. Someone in my household signed into my account and bought this item. Have you ever gotten that message?
Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, my 4-year-old, I got one of those ones too. I'm like, hey, you must be pretty talented. And he must know your PayPal ID and everything. Because you're
saying little Timmy is actually, he's going onto the laptop, he's smashing all the things, and all of a sudden something actually pops up on the screen.
Right.
So little Timmy buys it, and then he goes to your PayPal or credit card, puts in your credit card number, updates the address, and actually, do you think little Timmy's capable of this?
Oh, sure. Why not? No, whatever. It's just, I don't have time for it. I have zero time for it anymore, to be honest with you. I said within 2 days, I already got the UPI going. I'm like, I don't have time for it. I have no time. I set up
the automatic one. It automatically does it for me.
Yeah. I think mine was 4 days. I think I knocked it down. I forget what the minimum is. Is it 2 days the minimum? I forget. I don't know what it is, but it's I don't have time for it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, things that really make a difference in your business. Getting upset and fighting with customers and getting stressed out. You don't make money when you're arguing with people. You make money when you're out there listing, sourcing, shipping, right? Working on your business. Right.
And also remember too, it's a very solitary business we're in. I mean, we're inside. That's why I always tell people you got to get out. Gosh, I must go to I must go to a coffee shop at least 3 or 4 times a week. Just sit there. I work there. I know people. You got to get out there and socialize, because when you have a negative thing like this, trust me, those voices in your head, they get in your head, and it can ruin your whole day. I've been there. It can ruin your whole week if you let it.
What do you do if somebody messages you and they're like, let's play out some scenarios. I'm going to be like, I always do this with my mother. We always have a lot of fun. We play like little scenarios of what customers would do. And like, she sells books on Amazon. It's a lot of fun. Let's play the game. So somebody messages you and they're like, the item you sent me doesn't work. You're such a piece of crap. What's wrong with you? I've got messages like that before.
Oh yeah, I know.
What do you do?
And well, first of all, you got to come back very positively, because all this is being recorded through the messenger, remember? So, and you want to be right through all this, so you don't want to be negative back to them. And I just say, okay, so what's the problem? Let's get through this together. I'm on your side. What's going on? And then they come back, and then it just, you got to stay positive. You can't be going down to their level, because you're not going to win the case. If they open a case, you're not going to win. So I would try and be on their side as best as I could. I've had it happen before. I've sent out perfectly good items that I know got there in good shape because I packed them and they said they were broken. So
what do you do?
Well, a lot of times I really want the item back. I'm really not into doing partial refunds, although I've done it at times because I look at the shipping to get it back, and it's not worth it, to be honest with you. So, and I think they know it too. So. But I just try and work it out, because I'm not into starting trouble with this stuff. I don't have time. I don't have the energy.
Here's another question. I received the clothing item that you sent to me, and I just don't like it. It's ugly. I want to return it, and I'm not paying for shipping.
You're the clothing guy. I'm not.
Like that one?
Yeah, that's
Like
pretty
that.
good.
Oh, man, you're the clothing guy, man, right now.
Throw it right on you. But you sell men's clothes anyway, and men don't return things anyway, right? So there we go. But
Any item, I don't like this part. I don't like this item.
Like if you shipped it out first class and they can ship it back to you first class, I don't know. I mean, I might just eat the shipping on that. It all depends, but and a lot of people block people after like after a problem. I've blocked certain people, but I don't block every single person that gives me a problem. It's just
right.
They never come back half the time anyway. So, and then they can sign in as a guest anyway. Somebody told me that. Yeah, like if you're blocked on eBay, somebody said, well, they could just sign back in as a guest and still buy things off you. And I'm going, oh, that's really great.
Little Timmy's back at it again.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you. I know.
Going Christmas shopping at 4 years old.
I know. Oh, gosh.
So you're telling me little Timmy signed in as a guest?
Yeah, that's right. I know. Oh, whatever.
It's a lot of fun. So for the people watching, they want to get started with eBay. They're nervous, but they want to start, maybe contributing to the household income or just start making some extra cash. What's the best way for somebody to get started? Some wise words of wisdom from your experience.
Well, I would say, like I said before, just start selling things in your house. You would be amazed at what is in your house. Even if you don't have $2,000 worth of stuff, even if you live in a small apartment, you've got to have stuff in your house, in your car. I mean, I sold like old garage door openers I found in my garage for $15 a piece.
Wow.
These things are like 20 years old, dude. I'm like, who the heck
even
is
paid
going to use
that
these?
much for it back then?
Obviously, somebody wanted them. I sold an old hotspot thing, I forget the name of it or the brand, for $10, and it had no battery. And I stated that has no battery. It worked last time I used it. There's stuff. Come on, man. There's stuff in your house you can sell, and only sell things you have zero. This goes with consignment stuff too. When I go in and see people's plates, things they're trying to sell, they'll say, well, here, this cup is worth $1. And then they'll say, see this mouse here? This mouse, my grandfather used this mouse on his computer for 3 years. That's worth $3,000. No, that's worth about 2 cents. I mean, just sell things you have zero attachment to, no emotional attachment to at all. I mean, something you can almost throw away. You could take an item and throw it away and not worry about it. Sell that stuff. Then take pictures of emotional attachment stuff and sell that stuff too.
Man, $3,000 for a mouse, man. That thing better be made out of like gold.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, it's I mean, people are like that.
It happens though.
Yeah, it does. It does. And some people don't want to sell anything, and then you go out thrifting. I've done a lot of thrifting, not as much as you have, so I'm not the grand master of thrifting like you and the other guys, but
I'm not either. So much to know.
I've had some luck with thrifting, and sometimes I haven't. Stuff like that.
It's a numbers game, we went to the thrift store today with my mother and she killed it with books, probably found $150 worth of profit. I'll tell you right now, we'll go 2-3 times in a row sometimes and not find anything.
Yeah.
It just happens. Let's just be honest. Thrift stores, I'll go on a little rant. They're not the same as what they used to be when I started 5 years ago. And I'm sure 15 years before I started, it was way different as well. It's getting harder, more challenging. And it's even more the reason now to become educated as much as possible. Don't just stick with clothing because you're going to get hurt if you're only doing clothing. Learn about books, learn about antiques, learn about electronics. There's so many different areas of a thrift store,
right?
Garage sale. There's so much to know, right? It's insane.
Right. And I love eBay. And eBay, like I said, eBay's been wonderful to me. I love it, but you need to also look at other venues too. I mean, you need to look at other, not that, eBay's going to die. No, it's just, you need to look at other venues because like the book thing, like I remember when I took you around and you were selling all those books on Amazon, I'm going, what the heck is he doing with all those stupid books? And then I looked and I was like, wow, there's some real money to be made. Now, I did it for a while and I thought I was making money, but I wasn't. That was my own fault. So I stopped selling the books, but I want to get back into doing books and getting more on other venues because I think it's important. You need to be on other venues.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you got to know your numbers as well. You've got to know your numbers, and not only your numbers, but how much time you're putting into to create that income. Because you had even mentioned, I don't know if it was during the show or before the show, we've been talking a bit but you had mentioned that you were doing something and you realized it really wasn't worth your time, at a certain point because you were spending so much time doing it. So, I mean, know your numbers, know your cost of goods. What are you paying for these items, obviously? So, like over the month, maybe you made $4,000, but what did you actually have to pay for that? What were your eBay fees? What were your shipping fees? And what's your actual cash flow? You might not be cash flowing very much from month to month because you're putting so much more money into the business, which is fine because you're building up a snowball of profit. But eventually you're going to have to start paying yourself.
Right, exactly. And that also goes with things that you might get for free. Like I'm a huge get free shipping supplies from stores and dumpsters at times. I don't jump in. Yeah. I used to jump in when I was younger, but not anymore. I just grab things off the top. But if it's going to take you 5 hours to get all your free shipping supplies, you might want to think about that. Maybe just start ordering shipping supplies. It's got to be quick. It's got to be, I'm driving by and I see a whole thing of bubble wrap sticking out of a dumpster. I pull it out and I'm gone. I'm not going to spend hours and hours getting free stuff.
That stuff's expensive, man.
And yeah, the packing material is expensive, but then you also get into, I can get free boxes. The problem with that, and I get free boxes, is you spend a lot of time. Does it fit this box? Does it fit that box? Because you really don't know what size the box is.
Yeah,
you might be better off just ordering boxes and knowing the exact size. It's written on the box, and you're not sitting there trying to measure them. But I still do it, and I probably shouldn't, but I'm so frugal. It's my own worst enemy half the time.
At the end of the day, in closing, eBay and business in general, it's a learning process. It's an experience, and you learn what works for you. Something that works for you, Paul, may not work for me, vice versa. And for the listeners, experiment, try out different types of items, experiment with different types of business models, and just put in some effort because there is money to be made on eBay. There's a lot of money to be made on eBay. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do it, I don't know if this is for me, trust me, it has nothing to do with smarts. If you're willing to work hard and just study a little bit and watch these free YouTube videos, be sure to check out, if you're in the North Carolina area, Paul's Raleigh eBay group. There's a lot of meetups all over the country. Get around people who are successful, watch these videos, listen to podcasts, and I'm telling you, you're going to be able to start having some success selling on eBay. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming on, man. Do you have any final words to the Raiken Profit listeners and watchers on YouTube?
Well, Steve, I've been following you since forever, since I think your very early days. I've seen you grow so much. I'm be honest with you, I'm just proud of how far you've taken it and everything, and you and a bunch of other guys. And I'm just thrilled to be on this show. And like Steve said, don't forget to check out my meetup. I also do some eBay training classes through lifelong learning. I also created a Vimeo eBay course on Vimeo. I'll send you that link, Steve, so you can have that.
Cool. Yeah. We'll link it all up.
Yeah. And I'm also doing a big seminar down in Florida, in Orlando, at the end of January for Mobile Tech Expo, which is a group I used to do. Through detailing. I kept those contacts and I got in, and my friend Martin Brossman and Robin Worley, they're going to do social media side. And I'm going to do selling your used equipment on eBay. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Double ooh.
Ooh, all this oohs today.
That's cool, man. I'm a big fan of conferences. I actually just booked 3 flights in March. I'm going to Vegas March 6th to the 13th, and I'm going to Seth Kniep's private label Amazon course, and then ASD over there, the wholesale show. Then I'm going directly from Vegas to San Jose to see Tony Robbins.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm flying from Tony Robbins, San Jose to Orlando to Russell Brunson's Funnel Hackers. It's like an internet marketing conference.
Great.
So I don't just, say go to conferences and educate yourself. Like I put my money where my mouth is, and it's going to be expensive, but it's so worth educating yourself and learning from people who are already successful, because it's the quickest way to save time and get to what works. There's so much information out there in 2018. There's a lot of great information for free, but there's a lot of crappy information. It's not that it's bad information. It's just, it used to work, but things change so fast. So you watch a video from 2015, like even a lot of my old videos, some of the things just aren't accurate anymore. It's just the way it works. You know what I mean? So you want to stay up to date, go to conferences, seminars, and it really pays off. So Paul, thank you. Check out his group, check out the seminar. Links will be down below. Hey, Paul, thanks for coming on, man. And hopefully one of these days we can reconnect again in your van, man, because it sounded so creepy. Let's connect again in your van. But if anyone who watched the video, you know what I mean.
Yeah, guys, I think it was like 8 or 9. I can't remember. It was awesome. Oh, man. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for everything. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time today. It meant a lot.
Thanks, Paul. Meant a lot as well. Have a great new year, man. Talk soon.
All right. You too.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.